At one point, she was just like 1v20, like
Yeah,
fighting a
yeah,
bunch of
yeah,
people by
yeah, yeah,
herself.
yeah. Hello and welcome to Roundtable Talks, the show where we take a topic sometimes and we deep dive into it sometimes, or we just have fun. Tonight's gonna be a little bit of the former. I'm joined by Mino, as always. How you doing, Mino?
Doing great, man. Always a pleasure to be here. Happy to see the audience.
Tonight,
Actually, I can't see anything on my screen, by the way.
oh, you can't even see me?
I can't see
What
you.
are you looking at?
I just looking at a black like bar on my screen right now.
Yeah.
It's okay though.
Tonight we're gonna be talking about another book in the Patternist series, book number 3, Clay's Arc. Chronologically, book number 3. And people liked us talking about the previous book because we did a little bit deeper of a dive than the regular people. Spoiler alert, there will be spoilers, so buckle up, pause the video, go read the entire book, then come back. Or pause the
Yeah.
video, like and subscribe, listen to the spoilers, get upset, then go read the book, then watch the next video. I think that
Yeah,
works.
and also,
Uh-huh.
also, um, you should make sure you turn the bell icon on
Hmm.
because that's the number one way to avoid spoilers.
You're right, you're right, you're right.
Yeah.
Alright, since this is your author, your series, lead us into Clay's arc from. Tell us who Clay is.
First of all, the best author of all time, you know her name. What's her name again?
Octavia E Butler.
Octavia E Butler. I blanked on the name completely, but
Ain't
she is
no
my favorite
way.
author. She is my favorite author, but I just blanked, honestly. But yeah. So Clay's arc. Clay is an astronaut. I think Earth is going through some stuff right now, and they send people into space to try and find something. I forgot. I kind of like um I have vague memories of the book because we read this book like over like 2 or 3 years ago. I know we were supposed to talk about it on the show,
I don't think it's been
so
that long.
everything's a little foggy. But Clay went on a spaceship with a few of his other astronaut buddies,
Hmm.
and they landed on I think Mars or some other planet. I don't remember. Actually, before I continue, sorry, things are coming back. So if you listen to the us talk about the past two books, you know that there's people who have these latent abilities. That Doro, who is this ancient immortal guy, he was trying to make his own race.
Hmm.
So throughout history, he just been gathering people who had these latent abilities. He didn't know what it was at the time, but in the present time, we learned that these are like telekinetic or psychokinetic powers. And they manifest in different ways for different people. Some people who are latent never fully transition, and they remain latent, but they still get affected by like what they call psychic noise, which is just like they can't block out all the stuff that's coming in.
Gotcha.
And then you have people who are transitioned, who have learned how to put up a mental shield, and they have various powers, such as they might be able to move things with their mind, they might be able to control your thoughts, they might be able to like heal and different stuff like that. So in the second book, Doro finally created his people in America. He moved a lot of them from Africa, and a lot of the people in this story are black, because it's a black author, so that makes sense. So they all migrated from Africa during the slave trade in the first book, and the second book they're all living in America in I would say 1970s, 80s ish,
Hmm.
maybe. And Doro was trying to create a specific person to be able to bring his people together, and he succeeded. But in the process of creating her, he was consumed by her at the same time.
Hmm.
So in Clay's arc now, they astronauts have figured out a way to make this hyperdrive system that works by collecting latent psychic energies that I guess every human on the planet has,
Okay.
but some people have more affinity, some people has less.
Yeah.
Obviously, the people that Doro created, they have a lot more. But normal people like you and me, we have mild psychic powers, but we just, we're not one of Doro's
We
people.
chilling, yeah.
Yeah, we're just chilling. So the spaceship, it uses latent psychic energy from people to be able to send you into hyperspace. Somehow they figured that out. I don't know how. They went to a planet, they caught a disease, and Clay came back. And now let's continue from there.
Everybody else died, so it's just Clay.
Yeah, everybody died from the disease.
So now I'm extremely blurry on this, but I did do some, touching up reading. This disease, it wants to spread by any means necessary. So
It's like rabies.
yeah, and it controls you just like the fungus that controls ants to make him do its bidding. So you have these hyper senses, like you want to attack, you want to have sex, you want to just spread it by any means necessary.
Yeah. And the thing is, the disease, it gives you and it takes at the same time.
Yeah,
And you could resist the urge, but you can't actually resist it. Like, you feel like the urge to, like, I don't know, like spread it,
yeah,
but you could like try hard to ignore it. But the more you try to ignore it, the worse you feel, basically.
yeah.
Kind of like being addicted to drugs in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But it also gives you stuff like you become immune to every other disease.
Yep.
You get heightened senses, like all five senses.
Mm-hmm.
You get superhuman strength
Yeah.
and reflexes.
So one thing to note in this book, if you're reading them in chronological order, at least for me, I knew of the other books. When I read this book, it was kind of like a shock that there was less talk of any like psychic, any psychic anything. It was mostly focused on like what the disease was doing to people. So there are people that
Yeah.
are affected are called clayarchs,
Hmm.
and they have their heightened abilities. And once they have children, these children are no longer human. They're a hybrid of human and I guess whatever alien thing this is.
Well, before we talk about that, though, we need to talk about. So one thing this book is really big about is like morality in a way,
Yeah,
because Clay was trying to like spread the disease, but like in a controlled way. So what he would do was like capture people and bring them to a farm because he wanted to like make sure that they didn't spread it, like because he knew that if it ever got out, it would just spread like a pandemic and just wipe out the whole human race.
yeah,
So he was trying to like keep his humanity by like spreading it, like obeying the disease, but at the same time not doing it too fast.
yeah.
So like he would capture people, bring them to the farm, and the disease also makes you want to mate
Yeah,
as well. So like if you're around other men, you probably gonna kill them. If you're around women, you probably as a male, you would want to reproduce.
yeah.
But eventually, if you have enough women, then you could get another male, and it's complicated.
Yeah.
But I think one thing to discuss here is like the morality. Like if you and I were in their shoes, what would you do? Like, do you think you would be like Clay and try to like resist spreading too fast, or would you just be like, you know what, F it, humans done. Let me just do what I gotta do.
You know, that's how I feel about humans. I think we have a shared view on humanity as a whole, but I wouldn't want to hurt anybody innocent. So I would try my
Yeah,
best to be like, I don't know the extent of what the disease can do. If it'll eventually like be
yeah.
like, I'm done with this body because I've taken as much as I can on to the next one, and then you just leave me, and then everything that was suppressed, because it suppresses, as we learned, it suppresses like cancer, other diseases like you talked about. So if it leaves you, that stage one that you had could turn out to be that stage four now because it's been so long that it's been repressing it. And I think
Hmm.
repress here doesn't mean like it goes away. It just keeps you from feeling the effects of it.
Yeah, the disease is like it's kind of like Wolverine healing factor in that it'll just like keep repairing and like
Yeah.
doing stuff, but it doesn't actually get rid of the disease.
Yep.
I guess that well, I don't want to go too far ahead,
Yeah.
but there was a scene. So there's two scenes I want to talk about that are a little bit later in the story. One is the girl that had leukemia that got miraculously healed. Oh, before I talk about her, the survival rate for people with the disease is like 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
So basically, when the astronauts were in space, they had some people who did survive the
Yep.
disease. But what happened was they were like basically experimenting on some of the people to like try and understand the disease.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, Clay was going to he killed everybody else, and then he was going to commit self-deletion.
Yeah.
But the disease has such a strong like will to survive that it wouldn't allow him to do it to himself.
Yeah.
So now the girl with leukemia, the disease have a low survival rate, as you heard already, and then she was already sick, so they thought that she was definitely not going to survive the disease.
Yeah.
But then it just like flipped the switch, and then next thing you know, her leukemia gone, and she just good to go.
Yeah.
And next instance of the healing factor was her sister, who was also infected. She was captured, and then basically at one point she was just like 1v20, like
Yeah.
fighting a
Yeah.
bunch of people by
Yeah. Yeah.
herself.
Yeah.
And they was like chopping her head off, and she was still fighting, like she
Yeah.
was still going. They had to basically cut her whole head off in order to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was healing too fast for them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
That's later on though. But
yeah,
um, we talked about
plug my
morality.
laptop in.
Oh my god. So the book opens up with a father and his two daughters. I forgot their names already, and I just read them. I know Kira is one.
Kira is one,
That's
yeah.
the one with leukemia.
I don't remember the names. Don't even ask me.
Rain or Ray,
Yeah, yeah,
and then the
yeah.
father
I think
is,
that's the older
we'll
one.
call him Dad until I remember.
Let's call him Daddy.
Okay. So Daddy is trying to bring his daughters to see their grandparents because Kira is dying of leukemia.
Oh yeah, and this is in like futuristic
Dystopia.
Earth. Yeah, so like
Mad
basically
Max.
all the city is destroyed. Yeah, imagine Mad Max.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. So they driving from one end to the next
Mm-hmm.
in like an armored truck
Yeah,
kind
and
of
it's
vibe.
like I love the way that it's depicted. You know, it's vague, but it's enough to let you know it's Mad Max. Basically, like you're trying to
Yeah,
not get
yeah,
seen, not get heard because there's people around doing madness.
yeah, yeah. I wonder though, like, is this a world where like the psychics have like taken over like a part of the city and they're just like doing their own thing and then everybody else just doing their own thing Mad Max style, or is it like intermingled? Like I was wondering about that when I was reading.
I think we learn more about that in the next book. That
Okay.
it's like it's a little bit separated, and we'll get into that later because it gets
Okay.
deep. But they're going
Mhm.
across the desert, Mad Max style, and they get stopped because
Yeah.
Clay, I guess he infected a cult or a religious group, and the disease took over them. Now they have a mission now to collect people and slowly indoctrinate them into the disease.
Yeah.
So they want to
That's
get
the
as much
farm.
people as possible.
Hmm.
They get captured, they get brought there, and things just get crazy.
Actually, I want to talk about the scene where they captured him because the way how they like basically like rip the hinges off of the armored truck
Yeah,
to pull them out.
yeah.
That's when you like know like this disease is real. Like this is a real
Mm,
superhuman disease. Um, and how do they look? Like I think we should probably should talk about how like people who have the disease look.
but
Um, so I think like you look the same, but basically when you're around other people, especially especially people who are uninfected,
yeah,
you start to sweat a lot. Like you just become really sweaty and like your hands get really clammy and stuff.
mm,
Your nails are like jaggedy. They're still regular nails,
yeah,
but they're just jaggedy.
mm-hmm,
And you want to touch the uninfected person. But whenever you touch them, you like scratch them. Like it might not be like on purpose, but like
yeah,
your body just like reflexively like scratches them to like get the disease into them.
yeah,
Um, but otherwise, you look like a regular person. You just look more skinny. Like you look like you are like famished. You always look like you're hungry, basically.
yeah. So they're captured.
Also, when you have the disease, you don't like seasoning on your food. So you basically never mind. You don't like seasoning on your food,
Yeah.
and you like everything raw for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
and you always hungry because your body like burning up so much calories. The
Yeah,
disease just make your body like so hyper. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
And I think you live slightly longer with the disease too. I don't remember.
Probably if it heals you, like, just keeps you alive.
Yeah.
So
Okay, go
captured,
ahead, bro.
captured, brought back to the farm, and now, as anybody would do, they have to get out. But before that,
Yeah.
they're separated into different rooms where the disease wants to, make more of itself. So Daddy
Yeah.
is taken, Kira is taken, and Rain is taken. And they all have the different
Yeah.
experiences which they go through. I don't want to go into too much detail about that. Let them get into that
Oh,
for
I'm going to
themselves.
go into
Let
go
them
into
adventure some
detail.
of it themselves, man.
Nah. If you
Uh,
listen to this podcast, you might as well just not read the book. Because I'm going to
Remember, we're
tell you.
not going to go over a certain time period, so we can't talk about every
Okay,
single
fine.
detail. I know it. I know
Fine,
it
fine,
burning
fine.
you. I know. I know.
I just have to say this though. Because the cult, Clay have like several wives and several like other guys there who are on like what's the word? Like they don't have a partner.
Yeah,
So these people are supposed to be partner with people who are single. Okay, go
gotcha.
from there.
So, I mean, that's fine because of that. And then
Okay.
they don't know what's going on at all, and they find out later what's going on, and it's like,
Yeah.
now we have this thing that we didn't want, and that's the thing. Like, the people that get it, they don't know what's going on until after the fact. They're not explain the
Yeah.
process of what's going to happen or anything like that. And then after
Yeah.
they just feel the effects of it, and it's like it's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Because the disease
What?
don't care about like who the person is that you want to infect or mate with. Like you see somebody, you have to get it on.
Yeah, that's true. Because if you like, and I don't care about your age either, because I'm pretty sure the girls were like slightly underage. Like one of them was
Octavia, be
17.
be tested the boundaries, you know.
Yeah, I was like a little bit like,
Yeah.
but yeah, go ahead.
And no, well, we could stop here and talk about it before they escape. Just the interaction that they have. You could tell that Kira kind of likes the main guy because
The
of
one who was
yeah,
sick.
because of how
Yeah.
nice he was to her.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, he was trying
And
not
she
to infect
also,
her.
and she was also the smarter. Like she already knew what was going on, kind of from the very beginning.
Yeah,
And she was like, well, and also too, like because she was sick for so long, she was like, well, I already like prepared to die, so it's whatever,
yeah,
pretty much.
crazy.
And then the guy, he obviously was like caring about her. He because he knew she was sick, he didn't want to like
Yeah,
let her die from the
yep,
disease.
yep. And then
But
everybody gets to see the offspring of these people, and
oh yeah,
it was jarring for me, but it was jarring for them in the book because they could actually see it. I had to like kind of imagine the
yeah.
sphinx-like cat human body, human head cat body. I was like, uh,
Imagine a sphinx,
mm-hmm,
but with like their whole body is human, but they just like on all fours and their hands look kind of like paws a little bit
yeah.
and their feet look kind of like paws a little bit, but they still look like human. I just imagine like a monkey sphinx kind of vibe.
In my head, the bodies were like black or like brown, like just covered in
Oh,
fur, and then just a human head,
yeah.
which is like weird.
Yeah. That's kind of, I imagine something like I just imagine like a regular sphinx, to be honest.
Mm.
Like I just imagine like a lion with a human head, but like as a baby.
Yeah.
So the head was too big.
And one of them could talk, but the other ones couldn't. I think it's like the further along or something. Like how does that? How does it differentiate between who gets like who's like how does the transformation go from like human-ish to like full beast-ish?
I think every human who has the disease who
Mm,
produce a child, the child always comes out like that, no matter what. But I think the reason why that one child could speak was because he was the eldest,
yeah,
and the rest couldn't. And I also think like because they were like mutated from the disease,
yeah.
they didn't really care to learn to speak. But
Mm,
that one, like for some reason, he was interested in learning,
yeah.
so he like started learning.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and to talk about the kids, they were like very agile. They were just imagine like a cat. They could walk as soon as they came out
Yeah.
the womb. They're very agile since they came out the womb, and they like how people who are uninfected smell because they smell like food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's actually a main part of the story, actually, because he helps them kind of escape,
Yeah.
and then they do eventually escape. And it's like the book, from the moment they got captured till about like close to the end, it's just always feeling suspense and actiony.
Yeah. It was pure
Oh
action from middle to
man.
end.
So they escape and then they get captured again. Was it by a
Hmm.
rival gang, basically?
Yeah, but like imagine in Mad Max, right?
Yeah.
You have those different gangs and factions and stuff who are like call themselves families, I guess.
Yeah.
And this was no different. They were like a family who like to go out and rob people and come back.
Yep, yep, yep.
And during the escape, they saw them and they thought, hey, we could probably hold them hostage and ransom them to get some money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
while they were
they didn't know
captured, Kira was talking to the main guy. She was whispering to him, and he could hear her.
from like a mile away. Yeah.
Why didn't the people that were there hear her?
We mean people who, like the gangsters?
Yeah.
She was whispering.
What's the difference between him and them? They still have the disease too, right?
No, 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 no. Everybody normal except for Clay and his like little people.
Mm.
Everybody else on the planet is normal humans or psychics.
So they were just. Cause didn't they do stuff to the other sister?
They did some
I know. Yeah. Some
what's
not good
that thing?
stuff.
Yeah, some non-consensual stuff
But
to the
I feel
sister.
like they were
But the
also
sister
infected.
wanted it because she was infected. No, they weren't infected.
Hmm.
Nobody was infected because Clay would just bring people who are uninfected to the farm, and he would try and keep everybody who's infected on the farm.
So they're just crazy.
Anybody? Yeah. No, no, no. Wait, the people who were in the gang?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just crazy.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. That makes sense then.
they were just crazy.
I'm like, why would you put her through that? And I was like, oh man, that's so sad to hear.
I mean, just imagine like if you're in a gang and I guess girls aren't around that aren't in the family, you're
Yeah.
going to take advantage whenever you get them.
I guess so.
As you know, man, we always want either violent or the R word.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's all we do like, apparently in society.
Yeah. So she whispers
So
into the night. He hears her.
yeah.
She don't know, but he does. They
Hmm.
come, take him back, and then the crazies are like, well, the crazies are now infected.
So they were infected, but they didn't know yet, and also like they didn't start going through like their own transition.
Mm.
And at the time, Daddy
Daddy,
and his two daughters,
yeah,
they were already fully through transition. Like they were now
the arcs,
clay arc.
yeah,
Yeah. So they have heightened powers and all this stuff, but they all trying to like escape without like I guess getting killed. I don't
yeah,
know how else to say it.
yeah.
So Daddy was out there seducing people,
Mm-hmm. He's
and
daddy
he
after
was
all.
he was going multiple rounds
Yes,
apparently because
sir.
insatiable. Then
Insatiable.
Rhea, what her name is again?
Rain,
No, not Rain, the other one. Kia.
Kira, okay, yeah,
Kira.
yeah,
Kira was just like laying low. She was like, I ain't doing nothing.
yeah,
And then Rain was there like, use me, abuse me.
yeah,
But not this way. The way how they were doing was too much.
yeah,
She was
yeah.
like half dead at one point, and then she came back alive because of the disease.
So the
Um,
big action happens in that house that they're in.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't really want to spoil the action for this house, but this is when Rain was like 1v all by herself. Like she was fighting everybody
He
by
was
herself,
doing the
basically.
most.
Yeah, she like got machine. She was like any action movie you can imagine with a female protagonist just beating everybody up in the whole place.
Yeah.
That was basically
She
Rain.
was on like some Rambo stuff, dude.
Yeah, like
Man.
she was like shooting people, taking their gun, shooting other people, throwing knife at people. Like she was doing a
Yeah.
lot.
And I don't want to spoil. We're not gonna spoil this part, but it's sad what happens after all of that. But you already said it. But it's just sad.
Yeah,
I was like, oh man.
Yeah, like I thought she was going to get out, and
Yeah,
then last minute she just get bopped.
and
The
then
dad escaped though.
but then he passed. He get hit by a truck.
Yep, and then guess what happened?
Revive.
No. So he get hit by a truck, right? It ran over half his
Uh
body.
huh.
And then when the people came out to check on him to like take his
Oh
stuff
yeah, blah
because
blah blah blah
obviously
blah.
this is Mad Max.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were like, let's just take his stuff and leave him because he fuck him. I mean forget him. And then he like scratched them without
Yeah.
them knowing. So now they get infected and
Mm,
all of Clay's work went down the drain,
yeah.
basically. So I think after that, the infection just spread. I think I don't remember if it was in this book or the next book, but they talk about how like the spreading just like went crazy after that.
I think it's like one of the last scenes where Kira and the main guy are just talking about the past and the future and whatnot, and how things are
Yeah,
going to be, how their kids are gonna be, how their kids are gonna look. Cause she was always concerned about that a little bit.
yeah, because they was worried about them fitting in and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't have to worry about that after all.
Nope,
Because
that's crazy, man. It's a really good book.
yeah, that was a really good book. It was surprising because it was different from the other three in that it's like not talking about psychics at all.
Yeah,
But it still hit the mark.
did a good job covering all the bases as she always does.
Yeah.
Talk about community, being with like people, coming together, working toward a specific goal. It's all of that. Family.
Worrying about your kids fitting in, that's a normal human thing,
Mm-hmm.
even though their kids weren't really human anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know I wonder what their end goal was. Like after he finished growing his farm, like what was he going to do? Like he was going to start his own like little like country and be like, hey guys, if you want to trade with us, we're over here. Like what was he going to do?
I don't know because wouldn't they just want to infect people anyways? Like you don't saying that.
Yeah, it's pretty much like a zombie infection at that point. Like you can't, I mean, except for the fact that he was actually resisting it,
Yeah.
but for the most part, it was like a zombie apocalypse.
I don't know
I don't
because I
know.
feel
I don't
like
know what his.
somebody would have grown up and been like, "I'm bouncing, Dad. I'm gone."
Yeah, especially one of the kids,
They
like
got
one of those, like,
they gone. They were so fast. The description they were so fast, like a shadow. Just no, like you just felt a presence and you didn't see anything.
yeah,
How you gonna catch
and they
that?
were so quiet too.
How you gonna catch that?
So yeah, once them kids grew up, they were gonna be way stronger than their parents for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I don't know. I don't know what the plan was,
I don't know either.
and I wonder like what happened. Like I wish the final book had kind of talk more about the clay arcs, like the original clay arcs versus like the offshoots of them,
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure like the family with clay, they must have been smart. I feel like they should have been smarter or like more organized than most other clay arcs,
Mm-hmm.
because all the other ones were just like basically zombie apocalypse style created, whereas these guys were like a actual unit.
Right.
So I don't.
I remember
I wish they.
reading the books chronologically in story, but the last book is actually the first book.
Yeah.
So like, which is we'll talk about in the next episode. But
All right.
good synopsis. You did good with the spoiling. You just spoiled just enough. You actually held back
Yeah.
some. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
I
I try.
see. You did a good
Try
job.
and a beat. So
You
I
did a
just
good
want people to
job. You did a
feel
good job.
relaxed.
Hopefully this does well. We're gonna talk about the next book pretty soon. Well, for us, it's gonna be pretty soon. For you, it's gonna be like a week or two. Um, if you have any comments, anything you want to add, anything that we missed, anything that we messed up, like Daddy's real name, you put it in the comments below.
Yeah, please tell us what his real name is. I do
We can
not
look it up
remember
right
for the life.
now, but just leave a
I'm
comment.
not.
Let us know. I know they heard you in the past say you don't know his name, and they said they typed it in the past. We didn't know, which is weird. We should ask them before. Anyways, this is the
You know what?
outro.
You saying that reminds me of Dune, which another book that's really good. But anyway,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
read that one too. Anyway, it's been the podcast.
All right, peace.
Peace.